All right, guys, I'm so excited what y'all did on my last video. That is the most views I've ever had by far. It doubled my subscribership. And frankly, that isn't my favorite video. There's other better ones if you go to my channel and click video, I think. I loved all the comments, and I said if I got more subscribers, I would stream eventually and really give you guys the inside scoop on the law. I just appeared in court, that's why I'm dressed like this, but I'll show you how we're doing it now in the post-COVID era, right? That's how I'm really appearing with the, the Lululemons and the Nikes. And I want to show you, I said I lived on the big side of town in the big house here. I'm not trying to flex, but I'm just trying to show you I'm not trying to do this like a regular YouTuber and make money or anything like that. This is my community service to get you guys the kind of inside track on what's really going down. And frankly, I'm just a little upset with the extremely polarized country we're living in, and I'm hoping we can just get some objective reality here. And so I want to talk about the Trump case, of course, and I want to also go over some comments and some interesting things that you guys said, okay? So that being said, let's get to some of the stuff in the Trump trial I want to cover, okay? There's a Sandoval hearing coming up. And Sandoval is just a case name, and every jurisdiction has some sort of case name for these hearings. You can actually refer to them in the court rules as well, but you'll just hear them as just kind of common practice, those case names being used. And what that hearing is going to be used to do is decide what sort of evidence kind of outside of this case is going to come in to the trial, right? So there's this kind of list the prosecutors offered of things that Trump has done in the past that they want to introduce. So like the kind of fraudulent activity with the college, the charities, defaming someone after a court, has adjudicated you as, sexually assaulting someone, and you essentially are committing this pattern of behavior that's essentially dishonest, okay? So there's some stuff I want to talk about in the Trump trial first. That's there's going to be a hearing deciding what sort of evidence can come in that's actually outside the scope of the trial. And that's unusual, right? So for instance, let's say you were rear-ended in a car accident, right? And you sued that person, and it turns out that that person has been in similar accidents before. Now, generally, that evidence does not get to come in. They call that propensity evidence. So like, oh, you rear-ended so many people before, it must be your fault in this accident. Or let's say someone was charged in a criminal case like Trump is right now with assault. And let's say they've assaulted many people before. Generally, that evidence is not allowed in because that's considered propensity evidence. And we kind of want juries to live in this little box where they're just finding facts in just this case, right? That's in front of them. So why would the prosecution be trying to get evidence outside of this case in? Well, there's one type of evidence that's sort of always relevant, even if it doesn't have really anything to do with the case. And that's credibility evidence. So things that goes to someone's honesty. So this sort of list of things that they want to introduce, sort of other fraudulent activity that, he's, lost in other court cases, or there's just sort of objective evidence of it. The prosecution is going to try to get that in. I don't think it's all going to come in. I think some of it will, but the key thing to understand there is it's going to his honesty, right? Also, will it be introduced in the case even if the judge allows it? Well, the answer to that is the favorite lawyer answer, which is maybe, or it depends. And that it depends on if Trump actually testifies. Now, I think he probably wants to testify, but, unlike kind of Trump's usual thing, which is just sort of like BS answers when he doesn't really know, that really doesn't fly in court, and it's not going to be a good look for him. So I think his attorneys will encourage him to not testify. On the other hand, Trump only needs to kind of get to one juror to hang that case, right? Which is the other thing I want to talk about. What happens if there's a hung jury here? I know we're getting ahead of ourselves. They haven't even started the trial, but it's an important thing to consider. What if there's one juror that just won't vote to convict? Well, you get what's called a hung jury, and that would be a mistrial. Now, what happens in a mistrial? Well, the mistrial means that the trial could happen again, right? The prosecution could take you right back to court, even if you had a hung jury. In fact, even if 11 members on the jury voted to not convict and one voted to convict, the prosecution could still decide to do the case again. Generally, they don't. It's usually when there's just a couple of jurors that voted to acquit, and that's what caused the hung jury. That's when you'll see a prosecutor really, bring back the case and go, oh, let's do it again. And when they do, usually they're going to do a better job the next time. But so is the defense. The other thing I wanted to talk about is just sort of the jury selection process in general, because we've seen some, jurors getting removed after they've already been sat. And there was something very interesting and unusual, which is when all the jurors came in, first question from the judge, who here can't be fair? People raised their hand and they were gone. And that's the whole purpose of jury selection. Now, usually what happens is, and I'll give you an example, let's say one we can all understand, like a DUI case. If you're defending someone charged with a DUI and you go and you want to talk to the jurors, there's going to be people in that pool that have lost a relative to a DUI, right? And so you're going to want those off the jury. But the prosecutor will try to keep them on the jury, of course. And so what you generally do is, the person admits, yeah, I'm going to have this trouble being fair. Like, here's why. Now, if I want them on the jury, let's say I'm the prosecutor, I'm going to, go, ma'am, I understand, you lost someone and that's going to be hard, for you in this case. But if the judge gave you instructions that said you have to follow kind of X, Y, and Z in the law, wouldn't you be able to do that, right? And then that's going to be their attempt to rehabilitate that juror and keep them on in the jury pool. Now, in this case, because our country's so polarized and Trump is so well known, the judge doesn't want to mess around with any of that. If you have any issues of being fair, you're gone, right? So that's why those people are off the case. I don't want to get too long-winded on the trial. Again, just put in the comments what you want me to talk about, and I'll address it. I think those are the most important things that are happening right now. Oh shoot, let me talk about the gag order, right? Because I mentioned it in the last video, and I don't want to forget that here. So Trump is just openly trying to violate it. I'm sure he wants to get thrown in jail, not for long, maybe a day or something, and that's usually what happens, right? The judge starts you off with the money fine, give you a little taste of jail, see how you like it. Like, if you want to get Trump reelected, there you go. That's the plan, right? Put him in jail, get his followers fired up, because our elections, our country's 50-50, right? It's just all about turnout, how to get people excited to go to the polls. And most people are like, it's free speech, right? And I saw that in the comments, like, well, he has the absolute right to free speech. We don't have the right to absolute free speech in this country, right? Just like you can't, if you learn some national secrets, you can't go out and tell people, right? And the same thing in a trial, you can't do things that could basically affect the fairness of what's going on. And that's why there's gag orders. It happens all the time. But, Trump just doesn't really want the law to apply to him. And to your comments about my political commentary, those of you accusing me of having TDS, go watch my old videos and look at the president on my wall and tell me I'm just some, anti-Trump wokester or whatever. It's just not the case. But just the reality is he doesn't think the law should apply to him. He campaigned as Mr. Law and Order. Go look up all the clips of him talking about the importance of classified secrets and how Hillary should be thrown in jail. And then we're going to have another trial coming up where, he was withholding classified documents while he was being asked. It was like, we know you have these, give them back. He actually asked his lawyers to lie about it and wouldn't give them back. So I don't know how you can be Mr. Law and Order and then not want the law to apply to you. Gag orders are super common. Follow them. Show that you're no better than anybody else. Now that's my, I'll say, opinion, but that's also just sort of the reality of the law. This is a very common thing, and I know probably a lot of people think, hey, if you're the president or if you get super rich, I mean, do all the kind of laws that affect ordinary people have to affect you? My personal belief is yes. I think that's the fabric of what holds us together. And again, that's kind of why I'm doing this channel in the first place. I've seen some young people I care about sort of get sucked into the sort of extreme stuff that kind of these algorithms force us into this little funnel and just sort of see the extreme stuff that only we like. So if you're listening right now, I congratulate you, because if you think Trump's only person going to get some medicine on this channel. Like, wait till you see what I got. Just curse there. I wanted to edit it out because YouTube doesn't like when you swear. But I'm just saying, like, if you think this is a Trump trial, so I'm doing that stuff right now. When Hunter Biden has his trial, or if Joe Biden ever gets it, like, believe me, everyone's going to get their medicine on this channel. So again, if you're listening, I congratulate you, because, and this makes some people mad, I'm just not going to sit in one lane, right? Right now, it's about Trump, and that's what's going to happen. So next, I want to go over some like comments and stuff. So I'll turn the camera around and kind of go through some of the comments on my channel and answer those questions. And again, thank you so much for subscribing. The more you subscribe, the more this gets out there, and then I could eventually stream and just take your questions live. But if I only have a handful of followers, like, probably not that many people will be streaming, and I won't be getting this word out. All right, so kind of look at this as your channel too, right? Put it in there and I'll put it out. All right, I'm gonna flip this around and we'll go over some fun comments. Okay, great question. Is it true these charges have never been brought before? So it's not true. That many people in the state of New York have been charged with falsifying business records. Now, of course, this kind of additional charge, doing it to interfere with an election, I'm going to assume that hasn't been charged before. But again, how many people have falsified business records to kind of deceive the public before an election? I'm going to guess that that's pretty rare. Okay, so this next question about the FEC deciding not to do anything. So what's the F in FEC, right? That's Federal Election Commission. Now, F meaning federal means the jurisdiction is different. So this is a state case based on state law. So the FEC, wouldn't be going after someone for violating a state law. Now, obviously, to me, the hugest sin here is that, Michael Cohen, Trump's lawyer, like, pled guilty to this stuff. He recorded his conversation with Trump. I don't get how Trump wasn't either charged the day he walked out of the office, or before then. So yeah, like, shame on whoever for not doing that. But again, if you're Mr. Law and Order, the law should apply to you, should it not? Let's see what else we got here. Oh, best of luck. I appreciate you. Does the Eighth Amendment right pertain to Trump's case? So Eighth Amendment, I believe that's had to do with cruel and unusual punishment. I don't really know what that has to do with what's before SCOTUS right now. In fact, I think it's going to be, Monday, they're going to do oral arguments on the immunity case. So I'll be talking about that as well. I served on a jury, and I'm pretty sure the guy was guilty, but, wasn't convinced. Been there myself, actually. I was on a jury when I was an undergrad, and we actually found the individual guilty on one count, and we hung on the other one because, and I was one of those people, I didn't believe the prosecution proved that charge beyond a reasonable doubt. And in fact, if that defendant actually didn't testify, I would have vote to acquit on both. But on one of the charges, he essentially discredited himself, and that made him just look a heck of a lot more guilty. Cool. You like the projector? It's actually, yeah, it's like a giant like tablet. I can just think of it as a tablet the size of a big screen TV. I thought you guys would enjoy that. I don't have that here at the house, so I'll do more videos with that later. Let's see. Don't remember my skills being a mind reader. Actually, I'm a trial attorney. I'm a defense attorney. Obviously, I can't read minds, but part of what I do is kind of looking for patterns in people's behavior, right? So I can kind of predict their actions. And the cool thing about Donald Trump is, he's been such a public figure for so long. It's just kind of very easy to predict what he's going to do. And that's why, you saw people like Bill Maher being like, he's, years before the 2020 election was saying, he's not going to leave. He's not going to accept that, that he lost, like, no matter what the election results is. So, he loses by popular vote by 7 some million and says he won in a landslide. If you go back and look at the Apprentice when he wouldn't win any Emmys, so he said that was rigged. When he lost a primary to Ted Cruz, that was rigged. When he lost the popular vote in 2016, he said that was all fraudulent. So it's his patterns are just kind of easy to pick up. So yeah, I'm not reading minds. I'm just kind of looking at patterns. If Trump broke laws, I'd like to see justice done. Me too. This next kind of question comment is about free speech and that it's protected. We do have free speech in this country, but it is not absolute, right? The classic: you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. You can't tell classified secrets. If you're actually, this is one I think super interesting. If you're a federal employee, you're not allowed to publicly endorse private companies, right? It's called the Hash Act. And so it seems weird, right? Like, and by endorse, I don't mean like have a deal, like LeBron James. I literally mean you can't like publicly say, hey, go out and shop at Walmart or whatever. Like it's just prohibited, right? We don't have absolute free speech in this country, and that's the law. If you don't like it, I understand. But if you think that it just shouldn't apply to Trump when it's had to apply to all of us, I don't understand. Trump shouldn't be jailed for contempt. I mean, I guess I'm a hypocrite here, right? Because, I want the law to apply to everyone. And I think you can still find him in contempt and you can just fine him and, use that money to, if his comments are jeopardizing people's security or the jurors, use that money to increase the security. So the law can still be held to Trump, but I don't want to see him put in jail because I just think that politically is not good for the country. 36 subscriber, I appreciate you. He did something wrong and lost his license. You must be Michael Cohen. And you're like Dr. Phil tells me you're dirty. So I didn't say I like Dr. Phil. I think Dr. Phil's okay. Like anyone, he's got his pluses and minuses. What I was saying is that, before I passed the bar, I was working as a jury consultant, and you don't need to be an attorney to be a trial consultant. And Dr. Phil, for those that don't know, the whole reason he got famous was Oprah got sued for saying basically she'd never eat another hamburger. So the beef ranchers of Texas, association sued her, and Dr. Phil was her trial consultant, and she was so impressed with him, she just put him on an episode one day and had him take questions from the audience, and that became a recurring thing. And then now we all know him as Dr. Phil. Great example of free speech, right? Oprah was like, I'm never going to eat another hamburger, and she was sued for that. Like, doesn't she have free speech? Well, according to them, like, you're interfering with our business. And of course she won and everything, but it's just, I bet a lot of those cattle ranchers in Texas are the same ones saying that Trump should be able to say whatever he wants, right? Find me the man and I'll show you the crime. I mean, yeah, right. Who doesn't speed all the time? Who doesn't do all kinds of things? Has a coworker ever, given you a prescription medication? That's generally a felony, right? Like, people do stuff like this all the time. Again, my theory is, if we're ever going to prosecute someone for jaywalking, president better be the first one, right? You're Mr. Law and Order. You got to lead by example. That's what you get for the power of that office. Trump yawning in court. So that's interesting, right? Like, trials are super boring, right? They move slow. And, Trump, you can see from Truth Social, which I observe, he's up very late, right? So to have to just sit in one place, not move, not talk, that'd be tiring for anybody. I've, come close to falling asleep in court many times. Went from analysis to political commentary. Sorry, but honestly, you might want to stick around, right? Again, check out the president I got on my wall. I'm just trying to sit in the middle, and I'm just calling balls and strikes. I do feel like a lot of Americans have been tricked by Donald Trump, and it's very hard to admit you've been fooled, right? Didn't Mark Twain say it's easier to fool somebody than to, convince them they were fooled? And we've just never had a guy like Trump do that, right? Most people have faith in their president as an honest person. And I just believe objectively he's not honest. And you're a real lawyer if you ain't hiring. Okay, so there's some more comments here. There's a lot of racist stuff. I'm just gonna ignore that. But I will say, you know, and I try to respond to this person and educate them. But the whole thing about Fani Willis, you know, hiring her boyfriend and him getting all this money, go read the court's decision about the conflict there. He actually points out that prosecutor, the rate that he was getting paid per hour was well below the market rate in Georgia. Don't worry, he's going to be reelected. Okay, good stuff. All right, well, that was it. Let's hope that doesn't happen. You know, to be honest, if I could have someone else running other than Biden as well too, I think this country just needs something very vanilla flavored, and get away from this stuff where we have one side of the country, you know, hating the other. Because if I have one problem with Donald Trump, that is it. I've never, in my lifetime, and I've been following politics since the 80s, I've never seen someone spend so much time vilifying other politicians, vilifying half of the country. And when you make one half of the country hate the other hates the other half back. And that's not good for anybody. And basically why? So you can, you know, win some court cases or win an election. That's just very selfish to me. America is more important than that. So that's it for now. Put more comments like this. I'll respond. I'll stream. Let's see those, you know, get those subscriber numbers up, because when I think it's high enough, that's when I'll start streaming, going live, and I'm at your service, guys. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Or I didn't want to end behind the camera. I just want to kind of say, like, why we can have these nice things, why we can have peace. It's the law, it's the Constitution, it's the kind of fabric that holds society together and keeps people in check that kind of don't want to follow those things, okay? And I don't want to ever see like one person tread on that and be above the law. And that's why I'm doing this. And I thank you again for watching and subscribing.